Hello everybody and welcome to Macro Talk 2 from Illinois. That's north of where I used to live. I'm starting a little early today so I can give you an update. Hopefully you can hear me because I couldn't hear the music because I don't have any monitors here. It's a long story. Do you want to hear part of it? There was a thing with a gas pipe that was being put in, or a gasoline pipe or something, and they said that my house might blow up. And I said, well, should I leave? And they said that would be a good idea. So I did, and I grabbed everything I thought I'd need, but that turned out to be woefully inadequate. But seeing as I was planning on moving anyway, I just came up here to my friend's house, and that's where we're going to be working from. So I am not as well prepared as I usually am. It's been a rather stressful week, but let's see. You can hear sound? Great, fantastic. All right, good. So I got this whole studio set up. It's a living room, actually, temporarily, just for this one episode. And then hopefully by the time we talk again, in fact, the time we talk again, I'm going to be back down there doing the move. So it'll be probably in a cardboard box I'll be talking to you. And then the time after that, it'll be in the new studio, which is next door. So bear with me. These things are all happening far too fast, but they always do. And that's just the way it is. Today I'm going to be reflecting on a few things. I'm going back to Scotland, which is it's where I'm from. My mum and dad are from Glasgow, and Scotland's always been kind of our home base. And even though I lived in England for most of my life, and I want to think a little bit about Scotland and Iceland. Been both places, and I'm a different kind of photographer now than I was then, a bit more serious now, but there are a lot of things I think that are worth talking about both countries and about visiting them. I'm looking forward to going, but strangely, to some who I've mentioned this to, I'm not taking a camera. The reason is it's just I hate traveling with my equipment because it's too precious to me, and they take it away from me and stick it in a hold underneath the plane, and I don't know if it's ever going to show up or not. So it makes me terribly nervous doing that. So I thought what I'd do is, seeing as this is really somebody else's tour and I'm just going along for the ride, I'm just going to use my phone and try to see if I can learn how to use the phone properly. I may throw a macro phone lens in there, but I'm going to hopefully get together enough pictures that I can tell you about the trip. But it's a tour of Scotland, so I'll be going back to places I already know, and that'll be nice, so I'll know what to photograph. But anyway, that's what we're going to talk about today, but a couple of things I want to mention before we get started. When I come back on the 3rd of April, or thereabouts, as soon as I get back here, I'm heading back south to get the move organised and get all the equipment up here. That is going to be a stressful time too, but I'll try to leave the studio part intact long enough to do the live stream on that Thursday, because it's going to be the results from the competition, which is me judging a book by its cover, because the competition this month is a book cover. You need to turn in 1 or 2 pictures that represent the cover of a book. It can be any kind of book on any subject, but you want the picture to be a macro picture. That's kind of the idea, because it's a macro contest. I have asked that you also give the book a title, which is an opportunity for you to be humorous or witty, and an author if you wish. You don't have to, but that would be fun too. So that's it. That's the competition. And you've only got, 9 days left? Something like that. That should be plenty. Give it some thought and see what you can come up with. Let me see. I was making a list today of the good and the bad things about moving from coastal Alabama to central Midwest Illinois. I think that's what you would call it up here. And I only came up with two things. The good thing is it has a summer here, up here. The bad thing is it has a winter. And the winter's bigger than the summer. I'm not used to winter. So I think this is going to be a bit of a shock. And the other good thing was it's got a river in it. The town does. I've always wanted to live in a town with a river. So yeah, there's that. So hopefully it'll be a whole new environment to explore together. And we can see what macro photography in the Midwest is like. It's a lot closer to where a lot of you guys live, I believe. So we'll see what that does. And yeah, we'll just take it from there. What else have I got coming up? Nothing really urgent to tell you about till I get back. I think I can save all of that till I get back. I did put a couple of articles in the on the website, kind of updating you on what's going on, and I'll do another one possibly while I'm away. I'll add something, but when I get back, I'm going to kind of regroup and think things through and see if there are any changes we need to make in schedules. But until then, just sit tight. I feel like I'm forgetting something. There was one thing. This is really directed at the Patreon folks that were at our Pazoon the other weekend when I introduced the new lighting system from Optilux. It was just a brief introduction to the equipment, and I made a few comments about early use of the thing. And there was an issue that I had early on, and I just wanted to let those of you who are following this know that the issue turned out to be a problem that I had caused. And after I mentioned it to the company, the difficulty I'd had was some light fluctuations, some unevenness of the lighting, which was obvious in looking at the Lightroom panel of all the shots. There was a clear fluctuation in the lighting, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure it out because I hadn't seen anything like it with the system to that point. So I let them know about it. Their researchers got on it, and they gave me a list of 8 things to check. I think it was 8 things. And one of them was actually the correct one, and it was my fault. I had somehow left an LED, my work LED, on. And this is the point of me mentioning this. If you're doing extreme macro and you're doing it in a dark studio, which you should, you need a work light. And if you have a work light and it's on and it's pointing at your subject, you have to turn it off when you're through if you're using continuous light. The Optilux uses a very special kind of, it uses a completely DC current to light the multiple light things. Lights, there you go, that's a good word for it. To light the multiple lights on the arms, it uses DC current. Most LEDs, or a lot of the LEDs that you'll use, a lot of the work lights that I have, use a pulse width modulation kind of technology, and the light is actually flickering just at a very high rate. You don't see the flicker, but the camera can. And even though my shutter times were very slow, the camera, I think, was picking up the LED, the work light, coming on and off at various times, and it totally ruined that stack, but it was my fault. So bear that in mind. Turn your work lights off and only have the light that you're using for your subject. It's not a problem if it's flash, because the duration is so, well, it still could be, depending on how bright the work light was. But I just wanted to reset the clock on that. So far, I'm blown away by how cool this system is, and there'll be a lot more coming up soon, okay? So we'll get to that. And the last thing I had before we get into Iceland and Scotland was crystals. I had the best time last week experimenting with crystals. I haven't done crystal photography in a long time, and this is where you make the crystals yourself and then shoot them in cross-polarized light. And I made a setup using, I'm going to show you something. I made a setup using the Optilux lighting system. I had to make a special polarizing cap device for one of the heads. I'm going to show it to you because I rather like it. That's it right there. And it goes on the end of the focus, the Solace focus, which is the focusable light. And you can focus it and have it polarized at the same time. And then I used a circular polarizing filter on the camera and was shooting some of the crystals that I made, and some of them were really, really cool. One in particular, it was a vitamin C and tartaric acid mixture dissolved in acetone. Don't ask me where I came up with that. I just mixed them all together, and it made the best crystals. And I'll show you some pictures of that. I don't have them with me, unfortunately. They're on one of the drives. The drive is here, the cable's not here. But anyway, several of you have got in touch to give me recipes for other brilliant crystals. Some of them are so incredibly toxic, I don't think they'll sell me the stuff. So bear that in mind, Patrick. And I am not going to heat mercury to boiling point on my stove. That you just don't do that kind of thing. No, it's against the law, I'm sure. Okay, so I'm going to go to Scotland, and from what I understand of my cursory reading of the itinerary, because I don't really do itineraries very well, it starts, I think, in Edinburgh, the airport, Glasgow, the airport, something like that, and then you drive up north and look around, snoop around the what is it, the Isle of Skye, and then down to Inverness and Aberdeen, and then back to Edinburgh, and then across to Glasgow and home. So it's all the big cities in Scotland, but they're not very big, not by most country standards, but they're very nice, they're very interesting. So what I did was, in addition to reflecting on my own trips, and I've spent a lot of time over there. I mean, when my mum and dad being from Scotland, and me being born just outside, we've been there every summer for as long as they were alive. We were going there, so it was wonderful. And going back again is going to be nice too. So I reflecting on those times, and then looking up some new stuff that I wasn't aware of. I'd heard about a couple of these things, but I thought I'd toss them in there so that you can travel vicariously with me to Scotland in the coming week. Actually, I'm dreading it because I forgot to bring any warm clothes. I packed my car so full of equipment that there wasn't room for clothes, so I'm going to be freezing the whole time I'm there. Anyway, did you know that the first colour photograph ever was a permanent colour photograph, whatever that means, that was taken in 1861, which was when I was a little boy, I'm sure. It was James Clerk Maxwell, the physicist, who took that picture. I didn't know he was a photographer, but it wasn't macro or anything, but you have to start somewhere. Colour picture in 1861 by a Scotsman. Brilliant. There's a lot of photographers in Scotland. Obviously, several of you are from Scotland. I know it's why I was doing this particular part of the talk this week, and planning on referring to that on Thursday. But I know that I've got a couple of viewers in Iceland as well. But both countries are very similar in that they're kind of a little on the barren side, and have interesting geology and interesting plant life. They're cold as all get out most of the time, and they do have some snowy places. But they're very similar kind of settlement feels to them. Scotland has, it's been part of the British Isles forever, and you're much more comfortable, I think, if you speak English. Being in Scotland is a little less challenging than trying to make things happen in Iceland, which is really quite an interesting country language-wise. I don't speak anything but English, though I do understand Scottish quite well, because my mum and dad spoke with broad accents, so that won't be a problem. There are museums of photography all over Scotland. Did you know that? I didn't know that. The National Museum in Edinburgh has got a collection of both photographs, I think, and ancient equipment as well. So yeah, there you go. It sounds interesting. And we'll be in Edinburgh, so I'll probably pay a visit to that. Robert Adamson and David Octavius Hill are two names you've never heard of, right? Me neither. They were a pioneering Scottish photography duo. I didn't know that was a thing either. Did you know that photographers were duos? Do I need a second photographer so we can be a duo? It would be nice. I could take some days off. Anyway, this duo, they were active back in the 1840s, so they hadn't done any colour pictures by then. They were still waiting on that. But they also were not macro photographers, which is an amazing coincidence. But they did a lot of the early artistic landscape stuff, and they're pretty famous for that. I think their work is in the Portrait Gallery of Scotland, also in Edinburgh. There's a lot of fun things to look at in Edinburgh. It's got a castle on a chunk of basalt that sticks up out of the ground 100 feet or hundreds of feet up in the air. A gigantic rock pillar in the middle of the city with a castle on top. That's Edinburgh Castle. And it has a road that runs all the way down to the palace at the bottom, where the Queen lives, or lived when she lived. When she came to Scotland, that's where she'd hang out. What's it called? Holyrood Palace? Something like that. But anyway, yeah, there's a mile called the Royal Mile from the palace up to the castle. Very photogenic. Haymarket is on one side of that, and Waverley Station is on the other, if you're into trains. Yeah, so that's one of the places we're going. It'll be fun to photograph, and like I say, a lot of photographers there. What I don't hear from are many macro photographers, because there are certainly plenty of little things to photograph. When I've been there before, I've mostly focused on the plant life because of the weather. There wasn't much other life around, but you've got gorgeous thistles and what have you that are very photogenic, and bracken and all that type of hardy stuff. It makes for good photographs, good moody photographs with great backgrounds. I'm looking forward to trying that. The good thing about the Scottish weather in the spring and summer, there isn't anything good about it. It's going to be wet and blowy, and they say that if it's wet and rainy, just hang on a few minutes and it'll soon change. But it does. It just gets windier and rainier usually. But it almost put me off playing golf. I used to play golf quite a bit, and going to Scotland to play with my brothers, they would play regardless of the weather, and it was just shocking weather, horrible. I don't know how anybody could enjoy that. Same with photography. I think I'm a fair weather photographer, but the kind of things you'll find are that not the kinds of things that you would expect to find in, say, Puerto Rico or Alabama. Warm, wet places, you'd expect to find big, interesting things. They have insects in Scotland that do things that are pretty disgusting. They've got things called bots. These are not like the robots that we have over here in our computer. These are bots that are flies that lay maggots in animals' noses and ears. Yeah, I was playing golf with my brother, but actually with all of my brothers and my dad, in Scotland about 10, 15, 20, 25 years ago, some time ago. And of all of the brothers, the bots, the sheep bots, who were trying to lay eggs in the sheep's noses, decided my brother's nose would be better. And they just all descended on him and didn't bother any of us. But the poor guy had to try to play golf while being eaten alive by nasal bots. I hope we don't see any of them. That was awful. Glasgow has a Victorian photography studio thing set up, where people go to, presume, get their portraits taken. I don't think I want to go there. I'm not very interested in portrait photography. I'm not very good at it. There are people who go on macro photography Scotch whisky tours. Explain to me how that works, because this description doesn't. It tells you that you can explore the world of Scotch whisky through macro photography. Right, or you could explore the world of macro photography through Scotch whisky, but I don't think you do either of them very well. Let me see, you're capturing golden hues of the liquid. All right, fair enough. You could do that. And the texture of oak barrels, or even the crystalline structure of the malt. That is really scraping the bottom of the barrel, if I say so myself. If the best you can come up with is a Scotch whisky tour of Scotland, then you're missing a lot of the fun stuff. It's an absolutely beautiful place, and you might see the Loch Ness Monster. Nobody ever has, because it doesn't exist. But if you go, especially on the Scotch whisky tour, you might see it. It's worth trying. Let me see what other things. Scotland has the most interesting forests. You'd think there'd be big old forests, but they're not. They're little forests with little trees in them, but lots of wildlife in them. A great place to go with a camera. They've got lighthouses and the most beautiful coastline all the way around the country, but not like Iceland's coast, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, which is very exciting for macro photographers. A couple of unique plants there. They've got a thing called a mouse ear, which is a plant. It sounds like it's a mouse ear, doesn't it? But it's not. It's a plant. It only grows in the Shetland Islands, which is up in the Hebrides, north of Scotland, which is on the way to the North Pole. I wouldn't go there if I was you, not just for this plant, which is so teeny tiny. Nobody's going to be interested when you say you photographed it. So there is that. Let me see. Anything else interesting about Scotland? No, that's really basically everything there is to know about the whole country. Iceland is about the same, in my opinion, but I've only ever seen the bits around the airport. I think we're going to spend a bit more time actually snooping around the country while we're there. I hope so. I'd like to see parts of it. The thing about Iceland is, for such a small country, it has so many iconic landscapes that even I would recognize immediately as being Iceland. A lot of it is to do with the volcanic nature of the island, and the fact that, well, basically it is a big gash in the land, or the seabed actually, that has land piled up around it. It's a big volcano is what it is, and it's exploding right now, which sounds exciting to some people, but sounds a little dangerous to me, and I'm not sure that I agree totally with going to a place that's having a seismic eruption. But I was outvoted, so that's that. But macro photography on Iceland is a different matter. I've got a friend who lives there. He's born and raised there, a Norwegian chap, and well, I guess he's an Icelandic chap from Norway. No, not from, his parents were from Norway. Forget about all that. But he's a macro photographer, and he takes some very interesting pictures. They do have some interesting stuff, but it's a lot like Scotland, small and hard to catch and photograph. It's not your subtropics, but they have interesting non-animal things to photograph. They have beaches in Iceland that are completely black. Now, that's not like in England, where they're completely black from tar that washes up from the English Channel. They're completely black because the sand is black. It's made of basalt or something, some black rock or other that gets shattered into millions of little bits, and the whole beach is black. I once went to a beach that had pink sand in Sardinia in the Mediterranean. That was a bit more photogenic, but Anyway, that's one thing. I hope we get to see that, because photographing sand up close, macro sand, that would be interesting. Lots of interesting textures. I might bring some of that sand home. I'm not sure you're allowed to, actually. They're very funny in Europe and in Iceland about touching stuff. They don't like you to kill the animals or rip the plants up or take pocketfuls of sand home. So I'll be careful about that. That makes me think I should take a camera, though. I'll think about it. The challenges of doing photography in Iceland are a bit different than they are in Scotland, though in winter they'd be the same. It is a cold country, and it's a fairly damp country, and you need to be prepared for that. You cannot just walk out of a warm hotel with a camera and go take pictures when it's 0 degrees outside. You need to be dressed for it. You need to have the right fully charged batteries, and lots of them, because they just don't last in the cold weather. That is a dog, by the way. It's a huge dog, like a small horse, and she has ignored me up until this point, and now she's starting to show interest in what I'm doing. So if we're interrupted by that, I apologize. I didn't know quite what to do with her. I didn't want to put her outside because it's freezing up here. Not as freezing as it will be in Iceland, though. So where was I? Taking the right stuff with you. You have to be able to keep your lens clean and free of ice and snow. And you just think about these things in advance. Take twice as many batteries as you need. And I normally say, and I said in a video that I haven't released yet, I'm releasing a video next week, and in it I say, as I'm wandering off the beaten path, I talk about wandering off the beaten path. When you're in Iceland, try to stay on the beaten path, because that's where the really beautiful shots are. They really are. I mean, they're there for a reason. You get these views of Iceland's, what am I talking about? Waterfalls cascading over the cliffs at the edge of the sea. They have a lake that is up on a raised plateau of land that has a waterfall out of the lake into the sea, just directly there to there. Not down a river into the sea, straight into the sea. That would be the kind of thing you'd want to photograph, and there's probably only a couple of places you can see that. So maybe we'll get to go to one of those places, and I'll wish I had the camera. But so think about your equipment. When you're going over there, make sure you take wide lenses as well as long lenses, as well as macro lenses, of course, because there'll be plenty to photograph. Iceland's got all kinds of interesting flora about which I know absolutely nothing, but I'll take pictures and then learn about it. They've got Arctic thyme, which is thyme actually. It's it's something that the regular thyme you just put on roast beef, but this time it's Arctic, and you can only see it in Iceland. Does that sound boring? Yeah, I could hear you say that sounded boring. It sounds boring to me too, but I'll take a picture of it if I see it, and I'll bring it back and show it to you. It might be pretty. They've got campion. I don't know what campion is either, but it's moss maybe, or moss campion. Don't know, not interested. But the volcanic beaches, definitely interested. Volcanic sand grains and... I don't know what the dog's doing. It sounds awful. It sounds like it's coughing something up. It eats bones, by the way. It chews bones all night long, and you can hear the crunching from that. Oh dear. I shouldn't have started talking about her, because she's just going to get worse, I think. So let me see. Geothermal areas, like if you've never been to... Yes, hello. If you've never been to like Yellowstone National Park, these geysers and bubbly mud pools and everything, they're fun to photograph. They want to get you to take your clothes off and get in the water, though, and take the waters. I'm not doing that. No, not doing that. But I will take pictures, not of people doing that, but of the bubbling mud and what have you. So that'll be fun to try. Yeah, you know, in the summertime, their days last forever. They don't. I don't think the sun goes down in Iceland. Yeah, I think it stays up for the whole month or what have you. But in winter, which is when we'll be there, or spring, at night you can see the aurora borealis. I've never seen it. Have you ever seen it? I've never seen it. I want to see that. I'd like to photograph that. But I don't know if we'll have a chance to. That I'm looking forward to. And yeah, that's about it. So it sounds pretty boring. Do you agree? But we're only there for a couple of days, so it should stay interesting for most of the time. I've got several friends I was at one time planning on visiting in Iceland, and then we had COVID, and I couldn't go, and yeah, that haven't been. So I won't be getting the real inside scoop on the macro there until I get there, but hopefully we'll discover some amazing things to photograph. Have any of you spent any time either in Scotland or in Iceland? And if so, what's your favourite part? What do you remember most about it? Did you do photography there or what? Because I'd be interested. Just because I know the place like the back of my hand doesn't mean I couldn't be pleasantly surprised to find a new place. So let me know. I'm going to start catching up with messages here in just a second. See, I didn't have a whole lot to talk about today. What I did was I did some research on the history of Iceland. Now, I'm not a good history buff. I find history incredibly boring. Most people find it interesting. I find it irrelevant. It's relevant in knowing where we came from and everything, but you can do that in a sentence. Knowing what year somebody was beheaded is a different matter altogether. But I was reading the history of Iceland, and it's pretty interesting. It was a settlement. Vikings set up shop there. They must have gone from Norway and arrived at Iceland on the one day of the year that it was like sunny or something, and thought, wow, this is much nicer than where we live. Let's live here. And they moved in there, and yeah, you know the rest of the history. It's been ice and land ever since. But they were there. That noise is very disconcerting. They were there for a long time. Let me see, when did they land there? In the 9th century. That's a long time ago. Yeah, thousands of years ago. Some people from Scotland went there too, also probably thinking wrongly that this was a nicer place weather-wise. The Norwegians took it over in the 13th century. 13th century was several centuries after the 9th, by the way. 4, exactly. And yeah, they had internal conflicts, and it weakened the country, as you would expect it would. And yeah, then stuff happened. They had kings, and then they didn't have kings. Then they were independent, and then the Danish rule took over. Denmark became boss. And yeah, a thing called the Kalmar Union formed in 1397, dyslexic. And nobody's interested in that. But uniting Norway and Denmark and Sweden was what it did under one thing. And they had a king in Iceland. And I could care less about that. Yeah. He failed to claim the throne. They made him a king, and then he just forgot to go and get it. So they had a king who was neglecting his country, and the place kind of fell into disrepair, the economic hardship, as you would expect. So come along the 19th century, and all that's been forgotten. And yeah, the Icelandic culture and Icelandic languages picked up steam again, and they're doing things Icelandic. And they decided it was time to move towards independence from Scandinavia. And that's when a guy with an absolutely impossibly indescribable name, John Sigurðsson, we're going to call him, became one of those fighters for independence, and they got independence in 1874, the year after I was born. Their sovereignty was recognised in 1918, and this time I think the king did recognise the throne. I think so. I don't know. Must have done. Anyhow, that's about it. Denmark was occupied by Nazi Germany during World War II, but Iceland wasn't. But they used that opportunity to become independent. These days, Iceland is a really cool country. It's very modern, and it's really quite wealthy, and they've got a lot of industry there, very high standard of living, a very well put together social welfare kind of system. Their citizens are well taken care of, apparently. Very diverse economy, fishing, renewable energy, tourism, that type of thing. Black sand collection. So it's really a pretty cool place, and certainly has its own flavour completely. I think they eat rotten fish there, though. That might not be the country that I'm thinking of. Maybe you'll know that. There's one country where they take fish and let it rot until it's just inedible, and then they eat it. If they try to service that, I'll leave early. I couldn't do that. Icelanders are into the cultural heritage, of course, like any country would be. And they have a deep connection with nature. They're very, very much into keeping their land clean, which is great, and so they should. So the environment's very important to Icelanders, and you can tell it. They have strict laws about. You hear that crunching noise? That's a bone. That's like a femur. The dog's eating a femur. Oh, that's really disconcerting. Okay, so last thing I was going to mention was about the geology of Iceland. I mentioned it was a volcano, but it really is. It is a ridge of volcanoes that run along the base of the floor of the Atlantic, and they've got things called lava fields there. Yeah, you know what lava is, right? It's boiling molten rock, and they have fields made out of that. Why would you go there? Why would you go anywhere near that? It sounds too hot. But they've also got glaciers, and a sentence I read in a book that I didn't understand was it's got unique landscapes with geysers, hot springs, mud baths, lava fields, and glaciers, making it the ideal location for macro photography. When was a field made of molten rock an ideal place to go for macro photography? I would like to know what that guy's pictures look like that wrote that article, because he's very wrong about that. So I'll just have to see. We'll have to experiment and see what there is to photograph. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a nice break. And when I get back, I'll show you my pictures, and I'll tell you the real truth about Iceland in 2024, so you can plan your next trip. If it's absolutely gorgeous, I'll make plans to go back and do a proper trip with cameras and what have you. So, though I really would like to go to Puerto Rico first. I think the temperature will be more up my alley. So let's see, what are people saying? Did everybody leave? Either way is possible. Campion, it's a hardy flowering plant usually found among sea cliffs, and it loves salty soil. There you go. That's a campion for you. Do they have puffins on Iceland? They've got puffins on Scotland. My mum and dad used to live just off on the coast of a town called North Berwick, which is on the other side of the Firth of Forth, the Forth River inlet. On the other side of that was St Andrews and places like that. The golf course, big golf course there in St Andrews. And they had an island that was just off the coast, very famous. I can't remember the name of it though, and it was covered in puffins. And by the end of the summer, it would be covered in puffin droppings, and the whole island was white. That's a disgusting story, isn't it? But that's the way it is in Scotland. You just have to take the good with the bad. Ask Alan what species of femur the femur belongs to. I don't know, Joseph. I don't know it's big. It's this big around, the femur is. It's bigger than a human femur. But she's just chewing it like it was a pretzel. Jeez. I was hungry as this thing was starting. I was thinking I'll have a late lunch right afterwards, but I'm not now. No way. Anyway, let me see. There were some other messages coming in. I think it's just Bass Rock. Who said that? Ralph said that. Ralph, thank you. I knew you'd know. It's Bass Rock. And what's the... Hang on a second. No, Bass Rock's the chunk of rock on land at North Berwick that sticks up out of the ground. I'm talking about the one out in the sea. Or am I getting them mixed up? What's the one on land then? There's one that's about the same size that people climb up. I can't remember what that's called either. I'm not a good travel podcaster, am I? Not really. I can't ever remember the names of places. Let me see what other messages are coming in here. It's called lava. Lava fields are something completely different. No, it's called lava, and they are lava fields. They're molten rock. I've seen pictures of them. What's lava? Anyway, I'm not familiar with that. All right, let me see. Bass Rock. That's not the right one. It's not the right one. What's the name of the? I can't remember. Somebody will come up with it. Joseph says a Scottish rock group called Queen. Queen is not a Scottish rock group. They're from England. Did a famous song about Campion. No, that was Champions. Joseph, stick to astrophysics and optics. You're right about that stuff. Lava bread. Lava bread is seaweed. Okay, you're probably confused. In parts of the world like Ireland and Scotland as well, lava actually is seaweed and they eat it, and it's disgusting. Ugh, it's but they call it lava, and it has no molten rock in it. It would probably make the seaweed taste better if it did. But Bass Rock is the island. Okay, I'll take your word for it. So what's the chunk of rock on land then? Right in the middle of North Berwick. Can't remember. Joseph, that's larvae. That's different than lava. Lava's molten rock. Larvae are maggots. And don't mix those up, whatever you do. Bass Rock is the island. Okay. I wish I had a picture of it. Well, no, it's at my house down south. My mum has a small painting of Bass Rock that she gave me with puffin droppings on it. It's that time of the year, so there you go. They go out there on boats and you can ride around it and look at the puffins. And puffins are one of the most photogenic birds you'll ever see. They vomit fish up into their children's mouths, which doesn't sound like a photogenic thing to do, but that's what they do. And you'll see lots of pictures of puffins with fish hanging out their mouths. Yeah. Dried puffin is interesting to try when in Iceland, or minke whale. No, I'm not eating minke whale or dried puffin. I'll tell you that right now. That was Alistair was recommending I try that. Not going to try it. Crunching continues from behind me. Oof. Let me see. North Berwick law. That's it. Well done, Ralph. You're right. It's the law, not the... You see how I got it mixed up. One has 3 letters, one has 4. Very close. None of them are the same, but yeah, the law. That's what it was called. That's a lovely spot, that North Berwick. It's right in the borders, for those of you who aren't familiar with it. Scotland is above England. Wales is off to the left, and Ireland is in the sea just off that. And where Scotland and Ireland come together over on the right-hand side of the country, that's where North Berwick is. And there's another Berwick. It's not South Berwick, it's just Berwick. In fact, it's Berwick on Tweed, which is an English town. So you've got an English Berwick and a Scottish Berwick. That's not very interesting, is it? Because it's just a coincidence, I think. But the Tweed is a lovely river, full of salmon. Now that would be a place to do macro photography in the summer. I love the Tweed. Used to fish there from time to time until we got caught. It was nice. Lava soap. Pumice is volcanic. Pumice stone that you scrub your feet with, or we used to. My mum used to do that to us as I think a punishment or a torture in the bath with pumice, and it's for doing something to your feet, and it's made of lava, cooled off lava. Thank goodness. When you add water to dried puffins, do you get Guinness? No, you don't. You have to go up to the bar and say, a pint of extra cold Guinness, please. And they'll get that. That's how you get it. But dried puffin and warm water does sound quite delicious. Oh, dear. Pierre, I will check your emails before I go. I am getting ready to spend the next couple of hours scanning through as many emails as I can. This really has been just an incredibly challenging couple of weeks in pulling this move off, and it couldn't have come at a worse time with the trip and everything. But we'll get it all together. And if you have sent me an email and I haven't got to it yet, I will try. I promise. And I'm still not giving up on one day getting an assistant so that I can get more efficient with this stuff. But let me see what other fascinating trivia I can pick up about puffins. And now Joseph is suggesting that puffins are the missing link between the dodo and penguins. I think that is about as wrong as you can get on many fronts. But I won't discount it until I've checked. That would be funny, though. Let me see. Angie, what islands? Fame Islands? That's where puffins, you go to for puffins, not Bass Rock. I know Bass Rock's got puffins on it. I get a tendency to get a little bit seasick if I'm on a rocky boat, and the thought of vomiting while holding my Z8 over my head in a rocking boat to photograph bird poop, that doesn't sound like the best way to spend the morning. But if they have it, I might. The Fame Islands. Why have I never heard of them? Are they in the Hebrides? Don't know. I'm more familiar with the East Coast than the West Coast of Scotland. But we will be going to Glasgow as well. Yeah. So when I get back, I'll give you a proper rundown on what was seen and what was done. And I may, after all, just take a camera. Maybe just one camera and one lens. I'm not a very good landscape photographer, though. Maybe I'll take a macro lens. So what's going on with everybody else? What do you want to do when I get back? We're definitely going to do Insect Month in May, but that leaves the rest of April. I'm seriously considering getting you guys interested in crystals, because it's been so much fun. I was not expecting it to be as difficult as it is to get really good pictures, and as difficult as it is to get really, really nice crystals. There are a lot of tricks, and you've got to have patience, and you've got to be careful. But I think that it's a wonderful opportunity to explore. And every time we've done a competition and people have turned in crystal photographs, I've been impressed. And so I know a lot of you know how to do this. And I would like to do the competition for that, so that I can learn as well as those of you who are not familiar with it. And it doesn't take but a couple of bucks. You can buy some vitamin C or some tartaric acid, or what else? Sulfur makes good crystals. I bought all kinds of powders and things to make crystals out of, but you can get cheap stuff locally. And some of it's really, really easy to make. And some of it's really difficult and dangerous to make, but you know what? I've just decided that's what I'm going to do. Seeing as I won't be here on the end of the month, I'll be looking at the pictures as I fly home and deciding on the order, and then I'll do the actual judging live on the 4th. But that's later than I like to announce the competition. So the competition for April is crystals. And that can be crystals that have already been formed geologically, or crystals that you make. But my leaning would be towards homemade. And let's see who knows how to really do a crystal up properly. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do for April, crystals. And then May, because it's bug month, we're going to be back to a good old-fashioned insect competition for May. So the contest for April is crystals, and I'll put it in the show notes as an add-on note over on my website. You get to that by going to www.alanwallsphotography.com/blog, and then just go there and you'll see it'll be the most recent post. And there's no Pazoom this weekend, and there is no Pazoom next weekend. Next weekend is the, hang on a sec, did I say that right? Yeah, this weekend there isn't, because there isn't anyway. And next weekend there isn't because I'm just not doing one because I'm not here. So we're taking that off. So no Pazoom for 3 weeks, and then it'll be on again. All right, just thought I'd mention that. And yeah, and that's about it. That's all I have. And we're 10 minutes early, so I'm going to answer questions. What magnification are you photographing crystals? It depends on the crystals. When I first started making them, I was really using just a macro lens to survey the plate. I found some oblong glass things that they use to put on doors. They're plates so that the wood doesn't get damaged. They're ancient. I don't know where they came from, but I found a box of 6 of them at the thrift shop, and I bought them, and they're lovely clear glass, a slight greenish tinge to them, and I used that to spread my liquid on and then dried it. And it makes these fields of crystals, and I looked at them at 1x, and then I decided the best thing to do would be to use the Laowa 2.5 to 5, or the Astra Hori if you have that lens, and that way when you find something super interesting you can zoom in. And I think that probably when I get the studio back set up for the 15th time this year when I get here, I will do it with a 10 and a 20 times objective as well. I really would like to see some of these things up close, but if I had to pick one magnification to get the best, most interesting photographs, it would probably be 5 or a little less, 4 or 5. Though some of my one-to-one pictures that show this field of crystals is amazing, just amazing, because they look incredibly three-dimensional. Let me find the picture that I took at the end of last week, and I'll see if I can flash it up there on the screen. It was such an unusual thing for me to see. It doesn't look like I do have the picture handy. That's a shame. It doesn't look like the crystals are actually forming when you do it the way I did it. It's just when it's finished, you see these faint circles on the glass, and when you put them under the microscope, the whole thing just appears to be coming up like a mountain range off the plate, but it's a completely flat plate. Very, very strange to look at. And oh dear, she's found another bone. I hope she doesn't drag the whole body back in here from outdoors, wherever it is. Can't find the picture, which is distressing. Oh, I had it here somewhere. Let me see. I'll keep looking while we're talking. Nope. No, darn it. Yeah, we still have 5 minutes to go. Yeah. The dog wants to go outside. Down you get. Yeah, in just a second. I'll take you out in just a second. No, get down. Oh, I think I might have to go. I'm afraid that she might decide I look like a femur. Yeah, okay. I'll be right with you. Oh dear. We did good to get through this long without me getting attacked. But I think okay, I'm gonna let you out. Can I let her out and then I'll come back? Just sit tight. Come on. Is there a proper technique for dealing with that in the world of YouTube live streams? I don't know. I've never seen that happen to anybody before. My friend Laura said, just give her a bone, give her a human femur, and she'll just chew on that. She didn't warn me about that eruption of emotion there at the end. But yeah, I don't understand dogs. I'm not a dog person at all. But she's nice. She's nice. She's just stronger than an ox. But yeah. Anyway, there we were at magnification. Anywhere 2.5, 5. It doesn't matter. They look amazing. The thing is, you will swear when you look at these crystals that you are looking at a 3-dimensional structure that is as tall as it is wide. It's not, it's flat, it's just completely flat, these crystals. They just, because of the birefringence, they look so bulky. And that's a creepy kind of experience to look at them. I was doing a lot of this through the microscope. That's where the pictures are. Now I remembered. I can't get there from here because they're in that computer. I'm sorry. I'll put some together and I'll put some up, maybe post them while I'm gone. Oh, I didn't realize Laura was watching. Laura was watching the live stream, and that's her dog that was attacking me. So there you go. Sorry, Laura. Oh dear, that's embarrassing. Anyhow, guys, yeah, that's it. We're gonna get done. We started 5 minutes early. I'm gonna finish just a couple of minutes early. Not officially. I'll keep chit chatting and answering questions, but I don't have anything constructive to say today. In fact, I haven't said anything constructive today, which is it's because I'm on holiday. I'm officially on holiday today, so there you go. Anyway, that was JC, and I got confused and was calling her Casey earlier on, and she didn't seem to mind, so that's what I've been calling her. So that was a bit confusing for her. Yeah, it's a she, Zeno, and it's Stacy, Casey, JC. JC Penney is the way I remember it. That's a shop in America. All right. Okay, let me see. Oh dear, she is friendly. Yeah, I'm friendly after I've eaten a femur. You eat a femur and you just want to hug people, I find. So, what are you guys doing this weekend? Is anybody else going to Iceland? Going to hook up with us over there and visit? No? Scotland? Several of you are in Scotland. You ought to wave. Or meet me up at the at Loch Ness. I'll be up there photographing Nessie, the Loch Ness monster, which is not real. You know that, right? Okay. Oh dear. Who needs a belly rub? I don't need a belly rub, Art. I'm fine. Oh, the dog. Yeah, the dog may need a belly rub, but when you've just seen an animal chew through a human femur, you aren't going to reach down and rub its belly. I'm not. You can. I'm not. It would make short work of me. Oh dear. JC's outside actually now, Russ, so won't hear you, but she'll let me know when she wants to come back in. She's pretty vocal about that, but there you go. So I'm going to go out and explore a little bit of my new hometown because I haven't really looked around. It has a river, and that is a huge plus. There's lots of interesting things that accumulate around rivers for our kind of photography. So I'm really looking forward to the summer, which is, I understand, something like 4 to 6 hours in length this year before the winter starts again. I do hope it's longer than that, but we'll see. We'll see. And is the dog today's technical difficulty? No, today's technical difficulty is me and not bringing enough equipment with me. But to bring any more, I would have had to lie on top of the car to drive it because it was just full. So yeah, that was the technical problem today. The dog is not a problem, technical or otherwise. She's just a dog, a hungry dog. Ingolf, how are you doing, my friend? I got your message right before the catastrophe hit, and I believe I responded, so it was good to hear from you. It really was. And congratulations on the new lens. Are you enjoying it as much as you were? Ingolf picked up an Astra Hori, the same kind of lens as the Leowa, 25mm. Very nice lens, apparently. I've heard good reports from everybody who has one. I'd love to hear what Ingolf thinks. Ingolf's one of our star photographers. He is really, really talented, and what he can do with the lens will tell me a lot about how good the lens is. So I look forward to seeing some pictures on Flickr. I'm sure that's where they'll be posted. Okay, so I think that we are going to pull the plug so that I can go and start packing for my adventure. And I'll see you guys on the 4th of April. And it'll probably be about 2 weeks after that before things are starting to get settled and I have a studio set up and everything humming along again. Just about the right time for me to have a studio guest here, so hopefully that will all work out. But I'll keep you informed, and check the website from time to time, and I'll try to put a post up there just to let you know what's going on as things change, and I'll take some pictures to document it, and then you'll know what we're working with, and yeah, it'll be interesting. So everybody take care, have a good couple of weeks, and I'm going to be on radio silence until I get back, except for the video I'm putting out next week. I'm going to finish editing that now, and that'll come out next week. So until then, I wish everybody well, and I'll see you soon. And if you are over in Scotland and want to give me a call, you know how to reach me. Tell me how to get in touch with you, and I'll do so when we're over there. Have a good one. Take care. Stay safe. Oh, John D, you have some... Sorry about that. John D, you have some questions regarding your setup. You just got the Minolta Dimage Scan Elite 5400 lens. Oh, lovely. Okay, and you got the adapters from RAF. John, yes, okay. You got in touch with me over at Patreon. I haven't responded. I didn't know that, yes, I haven't been over there. I haven't had a computer plugged in until just before this stream. So I've got messages to catch up on. I will go do that now as well. So you will get your questions answered. That is a wonderful lens you have from that scanner. You took the scanner apart to get the lens, or was the lens sold out of the scanner? I hope it's a good copy. There are some dodgy ones around, but I think you're going to like that. Let me go over there and I'll check your message and I'll give you the best answer that I possibly can. There's a chance, if it's a complicated answer, that I might defer the answer until I get back and then talk about it in a live stream. I'll do that when it sounds like something that will be of interest to everybody, but I will let you know either way. All right, guys. Last thing, I promise. I got a call this morning. I thought it was from a friend of mine who lives, he lives in Canada, but was spending the summer in Florida. And it looked like that might be where the call was coming from. And I answered it, but it wasn't. It was just a person who was on my website and called me with a question about the way I remove chips, computer chips, from their packagings. And he's a computer expert, and he was saying they were some of the best pictures he'd ever seen, and he wanted to know how to do it. And it made me think that's something else we need to revisit. We haven't done chips in a good long while. So we might do that also in the summer. But anyway, let me get on with having fun for a couple of weeks, and I will see you guys when I get back. Until then, take care. Bye bye.